Hi, welcome back to my channel. The Tonys were last weekend. That's almost certainly not true the day that you're watching this, but it's also not true the day I'm filming it.
And now that's really not true. I did actually film that in June, and I thought there was a chance it would come out that month, but no. I went on vacation, I saw my family, I was busy, so thank you to Garland Tennyson 130 for reminding me what it's really all about. And yeah, I did get new glasses. Thanks for noticing.
This was a great year for theater by every metric that is purely financial. Capping off the most profitable year in Broadway's history with $500 lottery tickets to the Tonys is indicative of nothing. Broadway is back. It's all fine. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. It was also a very good year for theater in terms of the actual theater that artists made this year. Here it is, the big one. I adored Oh Mary. I don't think that'll come as a surprise to anyone. I'm so fucking glad Cola Scola won. This show is the funniest thing I've ever seen on a stage, and I feel very comfortable saying that. If there's anything I want a pro shot of this year, it's this. I did like Sunset Boulevard. I think that Jamie Lloyd's gimmick works. Maybe Happy Ending was phenomenal and so heartwarming. I cry during like every show I see. The magic of theater always gets to me at some point. And this show had me bawling like a baby. Like baby LeBron James. Death Becomes Her is a musical based on a movie that didn't make me feel empty inside. In fact, I thought it was pretty good. I laughed with the show and not at it, and that's not always the case. The Picture of Dorian Gray is a technical feat and the coolest thing I saw on a stage this year. It uses a lot of the same technology as Sunset Boulevard, or maybe it's the other way around. But it applies it in a totally different way and in a way that I think really elevates what Sarah Snook is doing. I had a feeling Sarah Snook would win Best Lead Actress in a Play just because she does so much more acting than anyone else nominated. On a pure minutes level, she's putting up numbers no one else is even close to, and Sarah is fantastic the whole time. After watching the Tonys, Buena Vista Social Club and Purpose are at the top of my list of things I'd like to see next, other than Oh Mary for a second time. It's just so good. It's so fucking good. Why did they use the Avengers font in the opening number? Is it because it's the Tony Awards and Tony Stark was in the Avengers? Why didn't they make any jokes like that if that was the case? They're not even named after an Anthony. They're named after an Antoinette. From this year's slate of original musicals, there were two that were completely shut out from any Tony nominations. The first is Tammy Faye. This closed after 24 previews and 29 regular performances. This was after Andrew Rannells announced at last year's Tonys that he would no longer be doing the show.
We got into a situation where we couldn't quite find terms that made everyone happy, which was really disappointing. And I guess why normally they don't announce an actor before there's a contract.
This was a much more classic flop. It came and went in a month and a half. I did not see it because it came and went in a month and a half. The show did well on the West End, getting multiple Olivier Award nominations and wins, but that success did not translate to the Broadway production. I haven't listened to the cast album at all either, so I really have no idea what went right or went wrong. The other show shut out from the Tonys is Redwood, starring Idina Menzel. Look at how much restraint I have. The show ran for 17 previews and 127 regular performances, so definitely longer than Tammy Faye. The closure was announced the day after the Tony nominations came out, so the producers were definitely hoping they'd get something to generate some buzz, and when they didn't, the show fell. This is usually the part of the video where I hold up my playbill and talk about my experience going to the show, but sadly, I didn't actually get to see Redwood.
I could tell you it's funny to watch the audience be blinded by the wall of white light coming off the LED screens, but I didn't see it. I wish I could tell you how big that tree looks in person, because holy shit, that's a big tree. But I didn't see it. I want so badly to reminisce about Idina Menzel swinging from a tree in a musical that somehow isn't Tarzan, but sadly, I didn't see it. The shows that I mentioned at the beginning of this video are all of the new Broadway shows I saw this season. I saw a whole 5 shows. And since I can't find a libretto for Redwood anywhere, the only things I can see of the show are the cast album and bits and pieces that have been uploaded to TikTok or YouTube. I'm not going to talk about Instagram reels of Redwood. You can't make me. I'm also not going to show any bootleg footage in this video for 1, legal reasons, but 2, now that the show has closed, most people will engage with it either via the cast album or through what's left on the Redwood YouTube and Instagram pages. As far as I know, there isn't a widely available bootleg, and it doesn't really make sense for me to talk about the show as if you have seen it when you probably haven't.
On Redwood's own YouTube channel, the most popular video is of Idina Menzel singing a song from a different musical, so maybe not the best start.
There are a couple videos on their YouTube channel that are about the behind the scenes process. Most of the good stuff is in this video called The Story Behind Redwood on Broadway.
My thought was always to create an immersive kind of experience for the audience. How to find a way to take the audiences into the Redwoods without being literal about it.
We wanted to find a way to take audiences into the Redwoods without being literal about it. So we constructed a giant tree and made a bunch of LED screens to show her in the Redwood forest, because we wouldn't want to be too literal here. I think that was probably the correct artistic choice. I don't want to see Jamie Lloyd's Redwood and he's covered in sap.
There's something about that image of a woman in a tree that had stayed with us in a very powerful way. What would be the story of how that woman got there?
We opened it up and said, what would be the story there? What would be the story other than the real story of how a real person got into a real tree? Because we wouldn't want to do that. Both the director and Idina Menzel referenced the life of Julia Butterfly Hill as an inspiration for this show.
Decades ago, Idina and I met and found ourselves speaking about a woman named Julia Butterfly Hill, who was a tree sitter.
And we're talking about this woman, Julia Butterfly Hill, who lived in a tree for over 700 days. And I found that so inspiring, this idea that a woman could do something like that.
If you're like me and you didn't know who Julia Butterfly Hill is, she's a writer and environmental activist who lived on 2 small platforms in a redwood tree for 738 days to prevent it from being cut down by a logging company. She lived in a tree for just over 2 years in protest of what the Pacific Lumber Company was doing.
But, and this is from a New York Times article about the making of Redwood, they decided they didn't want to make a musical about environmental activism. Whatever they did would be fictional and psychological, about a woman's journey into the redwoods and up into a tree. But why was she there?
What the heck are those two doing in a tree?
It is a little funny to base a show off of a real thing a real person did and then be like, but what if someone else did it for a different, not political reason?
I get why he was standing in front of those tanks, but what if our protagonist was doing it to find himself?
Like, the reason that image of her in the tree is powerful is because she's putting her life on the line to prevent it from being cut down. The visual of her doing the thing is directly related to the work that she's doing.
So there's trees in the show. More specifically, there's one big tree. There's a woman who goes in that tree. More specifically, the wickedly talented, more specifically, Idina Menzel is in the tree. That's really all you need to know going into Redwood.
And to provide some sort of visual for what's happening in the story, I'll be in this tree for the next 2 years, singing the songs, playing the parts, bringing the story of Redwood. No, don't pan that. I want to seem like I'm higher up than I actually am.
The first song of the show is Drive, where Idina Menzel's character Jessie drives across the country from New York to California to get away from her old life or drive toward her new one, or maybe a little bit of both. It's Jessie. Why'd I say Jess? Is it Jess? I don't know.
It's Jessie. I am Jessie. That's why it feels like a party every day. Never doubt yourself.
She does this on the 1-year anniversary of her son Spencer's death from an accidental drug overdose. And Jessie's wife, Mel, asks Jessie not to drive away, but ultimately she leaves.
Go far, go faster. Stay calm and push the pedal down. Oh, she's in a car. She's not in the tree for this part. But what comes after?
During the song, Jessie's wife, Mel, says,
Why won't you look at the photos, Jessie? You can't run away from this.
and I just have to disagree. Clearly, she can run away from this. She drives across the whole country, and it works. Not forever, but for the meantime, she gets into a bunch of tree-related hijinks instead of mourning the death of her son.
Go straight and head west into the fire of the sun. Seems a little dramatic. You're just driving. It probably took a long time and was fairly boring for most of it.
When she gets to California, she meets Finn and Becca, 2 researchers in the redwood forest. Finn is climbing the redwood, so Jessie and Becca sing a song called climb. A lot of the titles of these songs are just the main verb or noun, but that's musical theater. Drive, climb, the stars, roots, and spoilers, the fire, the rain.
Could I hide in the sky and unwind? For a while. And if time could stand still, what a ride, what a thrill. Would it be such a crime if they'd let me climb?
Becca also says that she'll never let Jesse climb.
She bowed across the line, we don't have the time. No, I'll never, ever, ever let her climb.
I'm gonna bet that she'll let Jesse. In the Idina Menzel Redwood musical, I bet Idina Menzel's gonna climb the damn tree. The Stars is a fairly standard song. Jesse is looking up to the stars in the sky and asking them for some guidance. Maybe a little late, seeing as you already upended your whole life, but you do you, girl. This song does let me introduce you to our final character, Lesbian Next Door. Lesbian Next Door is not a character in the show, but is the sole person adding annotations and song descriptions to Redwood on Genius.com. It starts pretty neutral. In Drive, Lesbian Next Door mentions that Mel is a photojournalist and that Spencer wanted to go to California before he overdosed. In the song Little Redwood, a song about a tree growing, they provide clarifications like, the little child in Bethlehem? Jesus Christ. But as we get deeper into the songs, the annotations become more and more biased, and we get to see more of Lesbian Next Door's personality. For example, Lesbian Next Door annotates that the entire chorus of The Stars is, quote, a slightly confusing jump in character for Jesse, who up until this moment has never expressed any connection with nature. In fact, Jesse has said quite the opposite. In Drive, she says, I've never had the chance to dance in rain before, and I've never had the chance to breathe in air so pure. She's going from the big city to be in nature, so there's gonna be a difference in air quality there. But she's so indoors, she's never had the chance to dance in the rain? It rains everywhere. Is she even more terminally online than I am? Next, it's Finn's turn to talk about why the trees mean so much to him, and he's got a little Book of Mormon flair. Through a connection with his family, we learn more about his research and himself. From the Broadway musical Redwood, Big Tree Religion.
In that redwood summer, me and my twin brother, what do you think constitutes a redwood summer? Do you think it's like the opposite of a brat summer?
Once the song reveals that it's called Big Tree Religion, a lot of the lyrics are just vaguely religious words. Revelation, salvation, mission, believer. The song does make me worry about Finn a little bit, because when he's talking about committing himself to the trees and helping others find that same joy he finds in nature, he says, now we just breathe, I don't teach. Some things are felt, not preached. And then he goes into the second chorus of a song called Big Tree Religion.
Big Tree Religion sets free your suffering. You'll find salvation, your revelation. Oh, Big Tree Religion healed me, and that's why I'm a believer. That trees can heal ya, because the tree healed me. That's not really believing. If something happened, then you believe in it.
But he's not teaching or preaching here. No, no, no. This is my impression of someone who's not preaching. You know, Jesus once said, on the lines, because when you look down from the crown and there's no one else around, the weight lifts, time shifts, can't be explained by scientists. Lesbian Next Door wants to make sure we know that the dopamine release from being in nature can actually be explained by scientists, and they provide a helpful article to back up their claim.
After a few days of hanging out with Finn and Becca and not getting to go up into the tree, Jessie finally picks up the phone and talks to her wife Mel, who is far more reasonable on the phone than I would be. Mel is mostly trying to figure out what the hell happened, trying to get a hold of this person she thought was her life partner, and Jessie keeps saying, I can't.
But what if we tried again? Too much has changed. I can't try again. Remember those times? Very specific. I just can't.
Seems a little rude to say that to your partner of 20 years who's also grieving the death of a family member, but what do I know? 20 years ago, I was this many. The next day, she climbs a tree. I fucking knew it. I knew she'd do it. This song, The Great Escape, is one of many that's just about hearing Idina Menzel sing. It
is a musical, so somebody does have to do that. And if you went to see Redwood, I'm assuming you love Idina Menzel.
It just means that Jessie as a character has way more songs than she normally would. And a lot of those songs are about the same feelings and sound similar because Jessie is still working through the same problem. It's really just a question of whether or not she's gone up into the tree.
What the heck are those two doing in a tree?
I'm guessing this is the first one where she's swinging around the tree while singing, and that must make it at least 20% more interesting.
Some moment of despair must happen where Jessie's like,
Oh, even though I'm in a tree, I'm still so sad my son died.
and that leads to the song Roots.
And Lesbian Next Door does not like this one.
This song is mostly just them talking. It's not rapped or rhythmically spoken. It's just him speaking while there is a little bit of music in the background until the very end of the song.
The roots of this redwood are extremely shallow, but imagine they're spreading out, going in every direction, and they keep going for 100 feet or so.
Actually, the National Park Service states that redwood roots only go 60 to 80 feet.
And when they come to the roots of another tree, they intertwine with it, they lock together. And now, not one tree, but hundreds or thousands are linked together. And under our feet lies a vast system of interconnected roots. And that's how the redwood is able to stand tall. It's being held up and supported, because that's different than held up, by others.
Hate to buzz in again, but actually, although redwoods thrive with proximity, it is not necessary for their survival.
The tree's most important lesson is like the roots we need. Connection.
The roots do not actually need connection. It helps in dense redwood areas, but redwood trees can grow successfully without other redwoods. I hope that in their efforts to get Jessie to connect with other people, Finn and Becca also mention, hey, you should probably talk to your wife. Then it's my least favorite song in the show, Looking Through This Lens. For those keeping score, Jessie has driven across the country with no warning, stopped answering her wife's calls after she did that. When she finally did pick up the phone, only did that to tell her wife that she can't go back to whatever life they were living before this, and just overall seems to be going through a bit of a crisis. And in the middle of all this, Mel sings a song about how Mel is the problem in this relationship and how she needs to stop being so demanding of Jessie and she needs to stop forcing Jessie to be more like her.
I have my pride, and I've always tried to get you to be more like me. That isn't fair. I'm sorry.
I make demands, always try to force your hand. Maybe you were right when you left that night? There are no examples of this in the text, music, or staging of Redwood. Thank you, Lesbian Next Door. Why is the musical trying to paint Mel as the bad guy? I get that this is fiction and there needs to be conflict. The show is more interesting if there is marital strife than if there is not. I'm fine with Jessie making a rash decision and driving across the country without really telling her wife, but that doesn't make it her wife's fault. Jessie is the one who did all this stuff. Mel's also a photographer. I don't know if you could tell from every time she's in a song, she's either talking about photos or a lens or... Those are really the only two photography metaphors they use, but they use them every time Mel appears in this fucking show. You don't have to make the metaphors you use directly relate to someone's occupation, right? You do know that. This song confused me a little because Mel says,
For 20 years you've had my heart. We've barely spent time apart.
which is fine. That's totally okay. You're allowed to love someone for 20 years. But she also asked Spencer when she proposed to Jessie.
Remember when I proposed in front of everyone? You asked me and you asked my son.
I want to know the timeline of all these events, because was Spencer like 25 when he asked his mom if he could go to California? Or was he like a baby when Mel asked him if she could marry his mom? Or maybe they haven't been married for that long at all, and like they've been together for 20 years, but they've been married for 1.
I wish I had an answer for you, but the timeline still confounds me. If we assume the show takes place in 2025, then Spencer passed away in 2024, and we can assume that at the very least, Mel and Jesse met in 2005. It makes more sense if for 20 years you've had my heart is referring to just them meeting 20 years ago, because Spencer is Jesse's son from a previous marriage. And in 2024, Spencer still has to be ask your mom if you can go on a trip age. There's no way that for 20 years you've had my heart means they've been married for 20 years, because that would mean that Spencer was 0 when they got married, unless he's like 25. And if that's the case, why are you 25 years old asking your mom if you can go on a trip? I don't know. But enough of that. It's time for Jesse to sing again.
We can kind of watch In the Leaves because they uploaded a semi-complete version of it to YouTube.
I'll stay here with you. Let me settle in, feel the calm again.
The first thing you notice is that this is not what redwood leaves look like. There's even footage of her in an actual redwood tree. Redwoods are needly trees. They don't have leaves.
Living in the leaves.
You think she's like in the leaves because she's in the middle of leaving her wife. Like, that's really impressive. I know we're not hearing what she's actually singing right now, but like, to sing while suspended upside down is a genuinely impressive thing to do. It's just in this show, and that's kind of a bummer. You know it's a song for Idina when the moves require defying gravity and the background is green. You think she ever gets sick of being in Wicked? R.I.P. Oh, to the show. Got it. In the leaves. Do you want to bring up how much we see her feet in this, or do you want me to do it so I can seem like the pervert for noticing? We both noticed, all right? It's nearly the end of the show and we need something exciting to happen, so a fire starts in the middle of a crowded theater. I'm not sure how crowded it was. Close. I'm not sure exactly when Jesse feels close enough to this tree to name it Stella. My guess would be in the leaves, but I don't know. But she does, and she stays with Stella during the fire.
If the fires come, should I stay, protect you, life and love? If the fires come, will I lose you like I lost him? It really makes me feel insane to be saying this to a tree. If the fires come, could I dare risk my life for us?
It's a fire. What are you gonna do to save you and the tree? Are you gonna reason with it? I get that this could be a metaphor for her wife who she abandoned, and now she's learned to stand her ground and like, I will plant my feet when there is a crisis. I will not abandon the ones I love. But that only really works on a subtextual level. Like on the text level, it's a fire. Miraculously, it rains, and Jesse does not die in the fire. Instead, in the rain, she hallucinates her son, who tells her that his death was an accident, and she finally accepts that it was not her fault. This leads into Still, which is probably the best song in the show. You gotta put the best one at the end. Leave the audiences with a good taste in their mouth. I think Lesbian Next Door agrees with me because there are no annotations on this song, and the description is pretty nice too. Jesse's dead son, Spencer, appears in a vision and reminds Jesse of all the beautiful things she should keep living for.
So in the song Still, which is the hallucination of her dead son, he sings, "You face the fire, but live to see today." Which, you know, she just went through a literal fire and now is hallucinating her son saying, "You faced a fire." And then he says, "There's only ash now where I used to be," which feels like a crazy thing to say. To be like, I'm a ghost, but I know I was cremated. Feels crazy.
But still is not the last song. We've still got the finale, which Lesbian Next Door summarizes beautifully. Redwood wraps up with Jessie leaving the tree feeling more healed from the death of her son. Mel agrees to meet with Jessie to talk, even though Jessie left with no explanation for at least 2 weeks. Finn and Becca are also there, although there is no reference to if their research will continue or where they will go. And Spencer appears. It is the finale after all. Everyone's gotta be there. She starts the song being like, will I carry this with me? Will these lessons have fundamentally changed me as a person? And she ends the song going, yeah, I should do that. I don't know if you can just say, oh, I'm gonna be a better person now. You have to do being a better person. Mel deserves better, all right? I'll say it. And that's Redwood. That's the whole show. There's no intermission. It's a one act, just like this YouTube video.
I'm always happy when new Broadway shows exist. Like, I don't think Diana or Bad Cinderella are particularly good Broadway shows, but my life is so much richer because they exist. And it's the same with Redwood. Drive gets stuck in my head all the time. I'm saying big tree religion to people as if they know what I'm talking about. When my girlfriend and I were watching Minions Rise of Gru, and the Minions are training in the martial arts with Michelle Yeoh in the Redwood Forest, our first thought was, it's like the musical. I would take 100 Redwoods over a single Back to the Future.
And I'm so glad that Idina Menzel is still doing theater and still making original theater. She's got a Tony Award. She's one of Broadway's most recognizable stars. She'll be Elsa as long as Disney likes printing money. If she wanted to just chill out, go to the recording studio every few years and record some new songs by the Anderson Lopez's and cash those residuals, she would be more than set for the rest of her life. She's maybe in the most privileged position a theater performer can be in, where no matter what she wants to do, at the very least, it's gonna get an out-of-town tryout. And I'm glad that she's using that power to employ a bunch of people she thinks are cool, talented artists and make original musical theater. That's the dream every theater kid has, is they're like, well, I can just work with whoever I want to, and I get to be the starring role, and I get a bunch of songs, and everyone claps for me all the time. There are far worse ways to use wealth and status in the entertainment industry.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, and you wouldn't mind leaving a like, subscribing, I would really appreciate that.
I went home to California. I saw my family. If you want to see some pictures of that, they're up on my Instagram. I'll probably do another post because I was gone for like 10 days. It was nice. It was nice to be in the hot sun instead of here in New York City where it's hot and humid. I also was on my friend Noah's podcast, The Loud and Gay Show. If you want to hear me talk more about musical theater, we did that for a bit, so I'll leave a link in the description. Thanks for watching a video, even though I haven't made one in months, about a musical that also closed months ago. That's very, very special, so thank you.
Again, thank you so much for watching this video. It does mean a lot to me. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!
Wow. I get it now. Big tree religion saved me.